Welcome back to D&D Beyond. Grab your umbrellas and your raincoats because we are going to talk about Tempest Clerics today. And to do that, I have a very special guest. Please welcome back Riley Silverman. How you doing?
Hello. I don't know why I like celebrate. Yay! I'm calling down the rainstorm. I'm good.
Good.
How are you doing?
Very good. And I like that your gesture also showed off your extremely good cape right now, which is very appropriate.
Thank you. Yes, it's my Tempest Cleric go-to cloak, so it's great. Little robe for casting some spells.
I love it. So, I actually, full disclosure, I was like, "Hey, Riley, what's a subclass that you love?" Because we like to do live builds here on the channel sometimes to sort of see things in action, and it's always the most fun to hear someone talk about something they really enjoy. So I am very excited because I don't think I've ever actually made. I've played clerics, but I don't think I've done a Tempest cleric. So
Ah,
just
my
real
favorite.
quick, why is this one so much fun?
I think in general, I'm really drawn to storm-based magic. Like I just really like the visuals of it. Like I'm always really aware of what the flavor of my magic is when I'm playing a caster, and it's just really easy for me to imagine a spellcaster who is shaping the forces of nature. And so I like storm sorcerers and I like tempest clerics. And as someone in the chat just said, yes, you can play Thor. Like you basically get to be Thor as a Tempest cleric, and there's just something really fun about that. Like a Storm Barbarian is also very fun, but there is something really exciting about the way that the combination of the Tempest cleric with the cleric flavor, but also the nature powers that you get with the Tempest like domain really play well together, and it gives you a lot of opportunity for fun storytelling and role play.
Love that. So clerics in general, I love them because they can do a lot of different things because they have a lot of fun story possibilities. I like being sort of a Swiss Army knife, which is a thing you can do. You don't have to with your cleric. But what do you enjoy about them?
I like the built-in role play. I think the versatility is a really big draw to the class. I think a lot of people who don't play clerics are they think the clerics are just healers and that's their only role. And as a cleric, that can be really frustrating sometimes. But as a player, like I think there's a lot of things that you can do. You can build a blastery cleric. You can build like your Swiss Army knife thing. You said like blastery. You can build tanky clerics. But I like the way that the faith of the cleric and their god interactions and how they bring those interactions to the world provide you a kind of like built-in role play. It gives you a thing like it's really fun to kind of figure out who the god is that your cleric worships. How does your cleric approach that god? Does your cleric proselytize? How does their cleric exist in the world? How does the world see followers of the faith of your cleric? And also, I think especially in D&D, I feel like a lot of times in conversations about clerics and about the gods in general with role-playing games, I think there's a bit of a natural inclination a lot of people have to bring their feelings about real world religions or faiths into the game. And that can be someone who has a very strong sense of their own faith and doesn't really like the fantasy elements of it, or it can be someone who's maybe had bad experiences with followers of a certain type of faith or whatever, and or just the cultural things to it. And I think what's fun about faiths in D&D with gods is I think it's best to just throw all that out, pretend, don't think about that except for as inspiration from real world pantheons from previous cultures, and really think of gods in D&D as beings that exist. Deities are real beings that exist. How they do or don't interact with the world can be really up to you and your DM and how they work. And they could be mortals who somehow like ascended to some level of connection to some domain and that's why they became gods. They could be, or they're a bunch of petty messes like Greek gods were. I think there's a whole lot of fun that you can do with it. And I think that if you let go of that kind of thing, you can have a really good time with it. Like I played a character, my first Tempest cleric that I played, I loosely based her on the concept of the drowned gods um in Game of Thrones, like the idea of like the what is neck, never like the angry, vengeful kind of like forgotten god. And the way I played her, she didn't love her god. She didn't think like, oh my god is the creator of the. She worshipped Umberlee, and Umberlee is like this spiteful, vengeful rat. They you know I don't know how what language is allowed on this channel, but there's a term for Umberlee that is a little bit harsh, and I love it, and it's like fun to be like rah rah for her. But my character treated her like, the seas are a harsh mistress. The seas can destroy you at any time. You have to respect them. And so my people pick an emissary to follow Umberlee as almost a tribute to her. And you have to respect her or she will destroy us all. And that is how my character approached her faith. And that right there is such a fun level to begin role play with, because like I think a lot of times there's like this idea that if you are a worshiper of a god, you're like handing out pamphlets and inviting people to bake sales and stuff like that. But there are so many fun other ways to approach your God following, your worship and such.
I love that. There's no reason it can't be a contentious relationship, even if it ultimately, like, there's a million directions that can go, and sort of a million ways of being like, you can respect their power and draw on it. That's not necessarily the same thing as worship. You could worship them, or you could be like the cleric of like something not that powerful, like a god you made up, and that like you're the only person who thinks they're the coolest god in the world, but it seems to be working, like small god style from Terry Pratchett. Um, there's a million different ways that you can go with that. And of course, just my standard, like what's right for you and your table and your particular level of comfort or discomfort with institutionalized religion, like that's there are a million different ways to go with that that are all fine. Maybe you love bringing that stuff in, maybe your table loves it. That's also
Yeah,
fine. But if discomfort with that has been stopping you, Riley, I love what you've said about like other ways to approach playing a cleric. And that truly, just like a warlock's patron, there's a million different flavors to that relationship. Are you happy with this decision that you've made? Are you pleased
right.
with the way it's all going? Are you getting closer or further apart? Are you becoming more like your god? Is that a good thing? A lot of really fun questions can go into that.
Yeah, it's fun to
Oh,
think of both things as just like a toolbox of questions that you can ask yourself at the beginning of the game to help you build and form your character and to inform your role play moving forward. And that's what I love about classes like this that have this built-in character history aspect in their creation, because it gives you a cool springboard to start with.
yeah. I have a great question right off from one of our mods, Marilar. Do you play into the flavor of the Tempest domain being about causing fear in people?
Oh, my character Ashara that I was talking about definitely did. Like it was really fun because that was an Assault Marsh campaign, and I didn't know when I first started playing it, Assault Marsh was in the Greyhawk world. So I had started playing her as an Umberlee cleric, and then found out that like in Salt Marsh, Procan was the sea god, right? And so I worked with my DM, and we decided that Umberlee exists in this world too, but her followers are considered more of like a cult or like a new sect that's a little bit fearful. And I played it kind of as because salt marsh is a little bit more of a temperate climate. Like it's a nice, like not quite tropical, but like a little bit more peaceful, like European. I played it as Ashara came from an area that was more like Nordic, that was more like rough, harsh, cold seas. And then she had come down to this area. And this is why both areas had such different ideas about what the ocean was like and what gods of the ocean were like. And so Ashara was like constantly spreading the fear of the seas and of Umberlee and being like, and like she would purposely like she would find whenever sailors had like a rough voyage, and she would be like, "This is because you didn't respect you didn't respect Umberlee, and this is what you do for it." And like, and at one point, my DM we during downtime, I tried to proselytize like as my downtime action, and I failed the roll. I got a 1 on the roll, and it created a rival who was a priestess of Procan. And over the course of the next 6 months or 9 months of game, she would occasionally undermine me until eventually our two characters had a clerics showdown at high noon in the middle of Saltmarsh, and I ended up killing her and like dropping her body in the sea as a like a sacrifice to Umberlee. And then somehow it's the whole town started being a lot more fans of Umberlee at that point. Somehow there was a little bit more of a fear of what happens if you don't. And it was so fun because the Tempest clerics domain is so destructive and just this force of nature that you can do some
So
really gnarly stuff with it.
So with that, let's get into it because I am excited about these terrifying possibilities. Obviously, if you have not played a cleric before, your basic info is in the basic rules. Um, Healers and warriors, they have specific relationships with the divine that are going to grant them powers and benefits. Um, your quick build ideas for your cleric that if you're just starting off, wisdom should be your highest ability score. So they use wisdom as their spellcasting stat, followed by strength or constitution. And if you want a simple reference, you can use the acolyte background. Um, but let's start ourselves a character.
Sure.
Mm, And ba-ba-ba. I'm going to go straight to class because we know what's up. We're going to
Yeah.
build a cleric today. And we're going to get moderately ambitious. We're going to build at level 6. So
Nice.
this is going to fill out for us. Riley, do we have an idea about which character race we might want to pick?
Well, because we're doing a wisdom based one, I think. Well, that's the fun thing about Tasha's, right? Is Tasha's lets you play with that a little bit more. But I did a water genasi for mine because it really fit really well with Umberly. But yeah, what's a good wisdom class? Are we talking about maybe like an elf or just give us the humans, give
Classic.
us a non-variant human to have all those little things around. But
We will mods pass me your favorite suggestion from chat, or just pick a random one. It's not a contest. We
yeah.
will let chat participate in this one. And we can optimize or not. Truly.
That's true.
It
Yeah,
it's
I did it with mine. I did a water genasi because it felt like a nice, like, oh, it's a person from the sea who has like a connection to the ocean. It made sense, and it kind of in my story, it was that her people were humans, but I made her a water genasi, and the idea was because she was a water genasi, her people were especially like, you have to be our priestess to Umberly. You're a chosen one, and like it was like a fun little like uh pressure that she had on her to follow that. So there's some fun things you can do. Yeah.
Actually, I've just seen there was a suggestion in right off the top that could be fun. We'll back burner this when I will let the floor be open to other suggestions. But a Sapphire Gem Dragon seems like a fun combo, says Ganon Thorn with Tempest Cleric, because you get Force
Yeah,
Dragon
let's do
Breath
that.
for your destructive wrath.
Let's
This
let's
is
just see
a
a new.
It is fun to play with the new toys. So Fizban's Treasury
Yeah.
of Dragons just came out, as y'all know, because we've been very excited about it here. But it does have 3 new options for Dragonborn playable races, um, including the Gem Dragonborn. Mm, And if we pick Sapphire, Sapphire is the thunder damage, mm, which seems like a good fit. Do we want to go Sapphire or do we want to go Amethyst for the force damage?
Let's go Sapphire. I feel like that is more flavor wise. I think you might be getting a little bit of a. It's not as optimized. I think you might be like stacking up your resistances, but I think it's fine. I think we can have fun with what
This
feels
is
like it's
just,
more in line with it. Also,
yeah.
yeah, you know what? There's a reason why Thunder is good, and we'll get into this because so cleric Tempest clerics have, in my opinion, one of the most effective and devastating uh, channel divinities in the entire cleric classes. Because the channel divinity that you get as a Tempest cleric it's a pair. I can't remember what it's called. I'm thinking the wrong one. It is called Destructive Wrath. And when you spend your channel divinity, if you are dealing lightning or thunder damage, you can drop your channel divinity and you can deal maximum damage instead of rolling. And it does not say when a spell is being cast. If you are dealing lightning or thunder damage, and there are lots of ways as clerics, as Tempest clerics, that you can deal lightning and thunder damage, and you can be a real damage dealer as a cleric with that ability. I've dropped like destructive wave on people with it. I've dropped high level shatter spells on people with it. It is or a call lightning spell at a higher level. Like you can do so much damage if you like really are economical with your channel divinity. So if you save those for the right moment, they are very clutch. So I think having that breath weapon that gives you that is a really good call.
I love that. All right, so just as our basics, because I am hopping around a little bit here, the Tempest Domain little intro goes like this: Gods whose portfolios include the Tempest Domain, including Talos, Umberly, Kord, Zeboim, the Devourer, Zeus, and Thor, govern storms, sea, and sky. They include gods of lightning and thunder, gods of earthquakes, some fire gods, and certain gods of violence, physical strength, and courage. In some pantheons, a god of this domain rules over other deities and is known for swift justice delivered by thunderbolts. In the pantheons of seafaring people, gods of this domain are ocean deities and the patrons of sailors. Tempest gods send their clerics to inspire fear in the common folk, either to keep those folk on the path of righteousness or to encourage them to offer sacrifices of propitiation to ward off divine wrath. So you get certain domain spells right off the bat. First level, Fog Cloud and Thunder Wave, then Gust of Wind and Shatter. At fifth, Call Lightning and Sleet Storm. Seventh, Control Water and Ice Storm. Ninth, Destructive Wave. And just to add insult to injury, Insect Plague. You're going to pick up proficiencies with martial weapons and heavy armor. At first level, you get Wrath of the Storm, which is a thunderous rebuke.
Love it.
Tell us about Wrath of the Storm.
Wrath of the Storm is essentially it's a ability that mimics what you would get with Hellish Rebuke, where if somebody hits you, it is exclusive to melee attacks that are within 5 feet of you, so it can't be like anyone in the space. Doesn't have to be melee, but it has to be within 5 feet of you. When they hit you, you can make them make a dexterity saving throw, or you can unleash 2d8 lightning or thunder damage on them, which is very fun if you're playing a tanky cleric, especially because if you're right in the thick of it and people are wailing on you, you can just totally tear into them. And it's not a spell, so it's a reaction. So it's actually something you can do not on your turn. You can do it. So it's a way of adding to the damage that you can deal in a given combat round. So this is definitely one of the more martial cleric classes. There are some cleric classes that are more scholarly based or spellcasting, and this is very spellcasting based. But this is a class that is designed to just be a heavy hitter, both in melee and in blasting. That's what's so
Mhm.
fun about these characters, and that is
I
a
s
that is an ability that you will use a lot if you depending on how you build your character, because you can build a Tempest cleric who is designed to be a range attacker, but
Mhm.
yeah.
I skimmed over this, but do you have favorites from among the domain spells?
I'm particularly fond of Call Lightning. I know that it has its limits because you can only use it outdoors, but if you're playing a game that's often like on ships and such, it is a really fun spell. And the big reason for it's a lot of people prefer Lightning Bolt over Call Lightning. Lightning Bolt is probably a little bit more effective in buildings, but Call Lightning, if you're outside and you cast this spell, it's kind of like Witch Bolt, where you get to just keep doing damage with it every turn and without burning new spell slots. So it does give you a really powerful spell for repeated damage. I also just love Shatter just for the flavor of it. I think it's really fun to be
Mm.
like dropping a noise bomb essentially on people. And Destructive Wave, hover over that real quick. Destructive Wave is one of the most brutal spells in D&D in that it does a massive amount of thunder damage, but then it also does a massive amount of radiant damage. So you're getting double damage on it. So even if you have characters who are resistant to one, you can do a lot of damage to the other. So it's really effective against undead creatures, especially. But a
And
lot
your
of times,
choice
yeah,
of
you're gonna have
radiant or
somebody.
necrotic, right?
Yeah,
Right. Mhm.
yeah,
That's a
you can
lot
do
of
one or the other.
flexibility.
So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's real powerful. And I definitely we had a game changer moment with that where my one of my players, I think they used to mention they like teleported me right into the middle of an enemy pirate ship. And then it was a vampire pirate ship, and I just unleashed destructive wave and totally changed the face of the combat coming up. So it was like dropping a nuke in the middle of that ship. So
Amazing.
yeah, you can have fun
Uh,
with it.
all right. So then, of course, at second level, you pick up your channel divinity, which in this case is destructive wrath. I love the way they put this. You can use it to wield the power of the storm with unchecked ferocity.
So
Lightning
great.
or thunder damage. You can just use this to deal maximum damage instead of rolling. Um, and then at
And it can
sixth
be really
level, which we are,
effective even if someone has succeeded on their saving throw. because even if they're only gonna take half the damage, now you're making them take like 15 damage instead of like 6 or 7, you know? So it can be,
Yeah.
even if they pass their throw, it might be still a clutch thing to use in the right moment.
I have to say, I know look, this is not one of the official mechanics of D&D, but I also find it dispiriting when they take half damage and you roll badly. And I feel like just occasionally a little bit of like, yeah, well, it might only be half, but it's half of a lot.
Yeah.
Like sometimes that's what I personally need to get me through to the next round. The math might not
Oh,
notice, but I do.
yeah, them succeeding and then you rolling like 3 ones and a 2, and you're like, "Oh, why am I even here? I'm just gonna go home."
I mean, 2 points is 2 points, but did you feel like you're like, "Bing," it just bounced off your left shoulder, but it's singed. Um, all right, at sixth level, we pick up Thunderbolt Strike. When you deal lightning
Yeah.
damage to a large or smaller creature, you can also push it up to 10 feet away from you. Any fun uses of this one?
I think it's a really good one for being utility for your party, because if you have people who are engaged in combat with people around you, let's say you drop that destructive wave and you hit everybody around you, everyone who gets that damage is now knocked 10 feet away. So now none of your party is engaged anymore and they can all move without getting attacks of opportunity, which is a really powerful thing to drop into a game. I think it's also good as a player. Let's continue with my example of being on a ship. You're fighting someone on the side of a ship and you hit them with a thunderbolt, the next thing you know, they're off the ship. They are now in the water. So it's a fun way to really like change the dynamic of who is hitting who in a fight. So if you've got certain people in your party who might be a bit squishier and can't take as many hits and can't withstand an attack of opportunity upon them, now you've given them a little bit of ability to move around and get away from their attackers. So
Which I love is a very useful thing to be able to do that you bring to the table in addition to just hitting things really hard, which sort of shows that like the for me the best builds in D&D always have like multiple things that you can do pretty well. Like it's fun to just be like I am a hammer, that's all I do. But usually you want some kind of like I do this, but also I'm a shield. I'm going to ring out the bad guy who's beating up my wizard right
yeah.
now. Now tell me about we're not on today's build we're not going to get there, but there are two more features that come with the Tempest Domain. Would you do with Divine Strike?
Divine Strike is, to go back to who the commenter in the chat earlier. Divine Strike is where you really get to be Thor, because I actually built my character with a Warhammer, not even thinking about this ability when I did it. But the fact that with Divine Strike at level 8, you get to add a 1d8 damage on top of your regular weapon damage. And so that's awesome, which is good too, because if you have a creature who is resistant to non-magical damage and you don't have a magical weapon, so you might still, they might be resistant to your physical attack, but then you get to add 1d8 of magical damage on top of it. And it's versatile because, well, no, it's not. Sorry, it's thunder damage. So some spells you can do one or the other. This is just only thunder. But yeah, you're basically adding a bit of like a thunderous hammer strike to the person. And then when you get to level 14, you get to do 2d8. So you're basically, it's almost like getting sneak attack as a rogue, but not quite as high a level. But you also don't have any restrictions on when you get to use it. Like it's a
Yeah.
weapon attack, so it's not a melee weapon attack. It can be a ranged weapon. It can be a physical a melee attack. Just isn't a spell attack. So you're adding magic, and which is great too, because if you've got your bonus action, if you've got spiritual weapon going, you can technically basically damage up to 3 times in a combat, because you're hitting once with your weapon, getting the divine strike on top of it, and then you're also getting a spiritual weapon that same round as well.
And then at 17th level, you just get like it just gets fun. If you make it to Stormborn, you can fly. You have a flying speed equal to your current walking speed whenever you are not underground or indoors.
I like that one. I think it's a little bit, that's maybe my least favorite feature of the, it's cool flavor. I think for a
Yeah.
level 17 ability, it's kind of late in the game to be like, because how often do you get to level 17 when playing in a campaign, and then you get to level 17, you're like, well, I can fly now. I've probably been able to cast flight for several levels now, but or magic items that give me levitation. But it's a cool feature. It's just one. That's I think a lot of times these higher level things, they're just out of like, they're like, we've already given you all the things. What else do you want? Like you can strike with thunder with your hammer strikes for the last 12 levels. Sorry. Oh yeah, all we have for you now is you can fly.
I do love it though, and it thematically, like you're saying, it goes great with this. As a comic book person, both your Thors and of course your Storm of the X Men. I love that the outside restriction is what makes that make sense to me. Like, yeah, wind currents have to lift. She's just kind of a
Yeah,
storm cleric of herself, really, is what she is.
so fun.
So let's go back to our. I got distracted. So we're gonna be
Oh,
a
fine.
Sapphire Dragonborn, which means, as
Yeah.
we talked about with Daniel Vargas last week, the Sapphire dragons are our like military historian dragons. So you may or may not have picked up that, but you might have a tactical mind. Who knows? Maybe you know the Sapphire dragon from your ancestry, and they made you play 1,000 games of chess with them, and now you're very good at that stuff, or not. Maybe you hate it. Um, so of course you're gonna get your breath weapon in a cone. You're gonna get your draconic resistance, in this case, resistance to thunder damage, which is nicely thematic.
Yeah.
Also, you're psionic because you're a dragonborn, a gem dragonborn, which is very fun.
Yeah.
How would you use psionic abilities specifically to help with the enhancing of fear?
Oh gosh, I think if you're making intimidation checks and you are maybe like using one thing I love to do with cantrips in D&D is use cantrips in ways that aren't actually attacking but are just setting the mood sort of. Like I've had characters who will create a firebolt in their hand and kind of like just like toss it around as a way. So I think if you have shocking grasp for example, you could like spark your hands and then you can use psionic mind to like really make someone think like you've got like just intense power, even though these are like starting character level abilities. Someone who's a mortal or someone who's not your character might think like, oh, this person's got a lot going on. I gotta get out of here.
And you, I guess, before you make it to Stormborn at 17th level, you will pick up your gem flight at 5th level, which will occasionally let you fly around as
There you
practice
go.
for
Yeah,
getting up there.
you got a minute. It's like jumping off the roof to figure out if you can fly. It's like that kind of thing.
Mhm. All
Don't
right,
do that.
so let's
People at
see.
home, don't do that.
Which, yeah, kids at home. Choose two. We get two skill proficiencies here. We get to choose from history, insight, medicine, persuasion, and religion for our Tempest cleric. What are we thinking?
I would probably do religion for one of them because you are someone who is following a god or a deity. So I think you'd want to have knowledge of your faith. And it is a skill check that I think a DM running a cleric should definitely have in their wheelhouse as a thing. Like if someone's trying to pull something from their faith or their knowledge, they can make a religion check. And I think that's a big one to have. The other one, um, I think the other one could be kind of dealer's choice, but I think if you're proselytizing a lot, I think persuasion. If you're more of a healing cleric, you want to go with medicine a little bit. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think there's a lot. I think and also insight can be really good. So I'll let you pick this one, Amy.
I will go. We will go persuasion, I think. I like this idea. This we need to tell you about the storm. Uh, and in fact, we get to pick it now. Let's pick up that Tempest Domain, which we pick up at first level. So now we've got our Wrath of the Storm. We've got our general channel divinity and our specific destructive wrath. We have passed the 4th level, so we get to do an ability score improvement. Of course, we haven't picked them yet, so I'm going to leave that be for a second. Here's what we will get later on. I always like to check this when I'm building. I don't know. I just read down through the list to remind myself what I'm shopping for as we grow in power. Um, we'll get the divine strike soon. More ability score improvements.
Yeah.
And how about those abilities? How do you want to do? Do you want to do standard array roll form or do something else?
Um, do we have time to roll for them? I think rolling is fun. I've become like a big fan of rolling for scores because you get such wild chaos with it when you do it. And we're playing a chaotic character, so let's
Yeah.
leave
Let
it
the
to fate.
tempest guide us. Um,
Yes.
we will roll those scores. Let's find out which dice I have right now. Oh,
I
I
love
love
that
them.
this
The
feature got
metal.
added, by the way. This made me so happy when this got added in.
Well, we got an 8, so we'll see how this goes.
Yeah. Okay, well, I mean,
And a
8's part of standard array, so we're not doing too bad yet.
15,
Okay, 15's pretty great.
got a 9,
Okay.
a
Okay.
16,
16's really good.
another 9,
Okay.
and an 11.
Oh
You
wow.
know,
Okay. But hey, so we
there's
got
some
two
stats.
that are really good, two that are, and then yeah. Okay. I think that our 16 should go to wisdom. I feel like because
Yeah.
you this is going to be your primary ability.
Where do we want to put that 15? Constitution?
I think the
Strength?
15. I think strength because I think you're
Okay.
looking at a warrior. You're looking at a tanky character, and you really want to be able to hit hard with those physical attacks.
And we may want to be up close. We've got our 15-foot cone breath weapon, which will be especially nice if we're in the midst of things. Mm.
Yeah. Everyone in chat is
So
saying their DM to make them re-roll this one.
we're gonna be cruel DMs to ourselves and stick with these stats today. But
Yeah.
that's the fun of chaos. It could go the other way. You never know. So where are we putting the 8?
I think just for the humor of it, I think our 8 should be intelligence. I like the idea of a character that's very wise but kind of dumb. Like I love the idea of that. I don't know why that makes me laugh so hard. But
Like, how does the lightning work? No idea, but it does this.
yeah.
And then kind of our choice on the rest of these here.
So here's the
You want to
question:
go 11?
Do you want to be slightly harder to hit and have less hit points, or do you want to be a little bit easier to hit but have more hit points?
I say a little easier to hit, but more hit points. I feel like
Okay.
put it up in con.
Yeah. So put 11 in con and then 9 the other two.
Yeah.
Oh
I
wow.
feel like that's a good like we can stand in the storm just a little bit.
Yeah.
We can call the lightning, we can't dodge it so much.
Man, this is a rough build, but I think it's way fun. Okay, well, what are we increasing? What are we giving natural increases to?
Yes, we do get to choose our bonuses here right off the bat because we're playing one of the new kind of Dragonborn. So we're going to choose either one of 3 different things or 2 of one and 1 of another.
So this is where
Um,
we can maybe up. We can fix that out a little bit. Like we can maybe bump up one of those, like maybe bump up our con or bump up our charisma, our dexterity a bit. I don't know. What do you think?
yeah. Do we want to I don't know if this is too cheap, but we could do 1 to dex, 1 to con and 1 more to our wisdom to sort of put us on the path to.
I like that because that way we're not getting negatives to our dex. We're getting one more to. We're getting a 12 on our con, so we're getting that bumped up to a higher level, and the other two are still pretty decent. So
um
good thing we added that persuasion because otherwise our charisma is going to really drag down our ability to bring any followers to us.
I just love the idea like we're completely right about how cool our god is, but totally unable to communicate that effectively to anyone else, and we're just sitting there being like, "But the storm."
Like you just make lightning
All right.
attack and like God. All right, this actually feels a
And
little more balanced now that we've got these extra things added to it. So
we're doing helping it a little bit, and we're
yeah.
building a level 6, so we're gonna have. Let's go back to our ability score increase. Where do we want to put? Unless we
Well,
want to take a
this
feat, but I feel like
this is where I got thrown off a little bit by the roll that we had because I think normally I would have pitched a feat here because I do think that a fantastic feat to take, and maybe when you get to the next ASI level, I think, which is what level 8 or is it
8.
7?
Yeah.
At 8, yeah, I think maybe we'll save a feat for that level. So now I think we might want to bump up wisdom one more
Mhm.
because that'll knock us up to the next level, I think. And
Mhm.
then what was one that we were kind of on the fence with before? Maybe our charisma, or maybe knock that con, or what? Can we see the actual stats again?
Yeah. Let's pop forward. We're sitting at 15, 10, 12, 8, 18, 9.
Okay, let's knock our strength up to 16. That'll be probably good.
Sounds good. So we're going to add
Yeah,
wisdom and strength with that 4th level choice.
yeah.
We have
But I
led
would
an
say that if you
interesting
are
life.
picking a feat for a Tempest God, I think Warcaster is one of the best possible feats you can pick for this build because if you're going to be in the fray, you're going to be getting hits a lot. You're going to want that advantage on your con checks for not losing your concentration spells, but you also are going to want that ability to cast spells as opportunity attacks. And also, if you're going to be a tanky cleric, you're going to be tanking, you're going to be taking a lot of hits, being able to hold your shield while you cast spells is a very valuable ability to have for this build. So if you already have good stats that you're happy with, and you feel like I could probably wait till 2 more levels before I really bump up these ability scores, I'm gonna say that feat makes a lot of sense to go with.
I love that. All right. So I believe we get our choice of language here. If you have, we could just kind of pick whatever we want at this point.
Yeah,
I'm going to pick Draconic, though. I think
yeah.
it sounds
Well,
fun.
did we get Draconic already as a gem dragon?
I believe this is where we're picking the Gem Dragonborn sort of says a language of your choice.
Oh, okay, cool.
If I've got this right, it's our origin choice here.
Oh, right.
Hmm.
It's one of those newer lineages that don't have the set things to begin with, which is great.
Yeah. Hmm. Let's pick a background to complement what we're doing here. Do we have anything in mind for this one?
I think well, you mentioned Acolyte earlier. I also think Sailor is a pretty good one. I think Sailor is like a
I
really good or like yeah, or that kind of beginning for a character like this.
athletics and perception, which will help us bolster some rolls. I guess our perception's already going to be pretty nice because of our wisdom, but uh, athletics isn't going to hurt. We'll get navigators tools and vehicles water proficiency. I like building sailors. They're fun.
Yeah,
So I dig that. We can even roll up some suggested characteristics real quick. See what we get for
yeah.
the
Let's
roll of the
roll some.
dice.
Yeah, we're making random. Let's just randomize it.
I stretch the truth for the sake of a good story.
That seems like a pretty possible one for a cleric. So I like that. Like you really want to like bring allegory into things.
And our next roll was to me, a tavern brawl is a nice way to get to know a new city. And I feel like I'm
That's
getting to know our cleric already.
that's pretty tempestuous, I think. So
That we will demonstrate the fury of the storm in every bar we go to, just to
I
say
am the
hello.
storm.
All right, our ideals. Ooh, I might switch this one because we rolled evil. We rolled I am a
Yeah,
predator, and the other ships on the sea are my prey.
which can be very fun to play, but I don't think that's necessarily what we're looking for with this.
So, do you have a favorite from this list? We've got respect, fairness, freedom, mastery, people, and aspiration.
I almost always go freedom with this kind of character build because I feel like it's part like the storm, it's chaos, it's
I love
that
that.
kind of element to it. So I often pick the chaotic ideal.
All right, our bonds. If we go random, we're going to say I was cheated out of my fair share of the profits and I want to get my due. Kind of a weird match for our cleric. Do we like it?
Let's see here. Um, there is a bit of a vengeance there, but I think gosh, number 4 or 6 could be really fun depending on how you do it. And I also think the ship these are all great. I love
Actually,
Taylor
I
bonds.
love I love these are all great, but I think you're right. I think number 4 could be really fun for us, which is in a harbor town. I have a paramour whose eyes nearly stole me from the sea because as a
Yeah.
tempest cleric, that's a lot. That's a big steal where it's sort of like I got to choose between the path of the tempest and my sweetheart. That's
Yeah.
pretty dramatic.
It's very Obi-Wan and Satine, so I like that.
Yeah. And we a flaw, which I know we have a lot of doubles. I'll clean them out in a second. But
Hmm.
if we picked a random flaw, it would be I'll say anything to avoid having to do extra work. And I feel like our cleric is not afraid of work. So I don't know. That's
No.
a very funny one, but probably not ours.
I
My
think it's
pride will probably
probably
lead to
my
my
pride will
destruction.
lead to my destruction. Yeah. Same page. The delay caught us on the
Mine.
same page.
Mhm. Mhm. All right. I feel like let's see. Let me clean out the doubles here. Hmm. I no longer remember how to clean out the doubles, so I'm going to do it later. But
I
there's
think you just leave a
definitely
line, but yeah.
a way to do that. Oh, you're right. I can just straight up take it out. Haha! I was wrong. I'll figure that out later.
Yeah, that's fine.
But any recommendations for our? We're gonna pick our starting equipment. I know we're level 6, but we got to start somewhere. Warhammer or mace?
I Warhammer. I mean, we're building Thor. You gotta give Thor a hammer.
Scale, leather, or chainmail. We picked up that heavy armor with our Tempest Domain,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yeah, I think chainmail. I mean, the nice thing about chainmail, I think, is that being a heavy armor, you are giving yourself a little bit more of a balance there because now you can't really be super stealthy. So I think like because these characters are so brutal and they're so good in combat that I think giving them maybe like a couple of things that they're not great at can really kind of help make things feel a little more like balanced. Because you don't. That's the thing. Like Tempest clerics are very fun. They are a tad bit broken because they can do so much damage and they're so versatile. And I think you really like as a DM, I think you gotta like be on top of it because your players can really wreak some. I ruined a couple of plans, not even trying to, just by being destructive as a Tempest cleric. So I think that, and I yeah, Dark of Nates as a Tempest cleric should not be stealthy, and I think that's very true. A Tempest cleric is a force of nature coming through things. A Tempest cleric is a thunderstorm, and you should play it
You
as
have a
such.
storm coming. Yep, and you
Yeah.
should know it. You should feel this cleric coming in your knees before they even
Yes.
get here. Simple weapon or a light crossbow. We can pick up a crossbow as a backup.
Crossbow's fine. I tend to go with simple weapons, but we already had the Warhammer. I tend to be like, well, do I really need a ranged weapon if I have cantrips that do ranged attacks? But you never know if you won't be able to use it, might as well have it. So
Yeah.
either one's good.
Yeah. I'm just gonna grab us a priest pack because we have more to get through, and I lose track of
Yeah,
time while we're building. Um,
totally.
did I in fact add it to my sheet? I didn't. Let's do it again. Um, this is a lesson
I
in
guess me every
remembering to hit
time.
the button at the bottom.
Warhammer, chainmail. Just go light
There we
crossbow.
go.
Why not? Priest pack. Yes. Cool.
Excellent. And we're gonna hop all the way. Oh, I skipped the name. Haha. We'll see.
Well, let's let chat name the cleric. Whoever gets the first name in can name it.
Yes, please, mods, pass along a couple of names, and we will see where how to name our cleric here as we go to the all important. I left this for last because I straight up, I was so excited about this part, and then I got really engaged with everything else we were doing. But we need some spells. At level
Yes.
6, we're gonna have 4 cantrips that we know. We are gonna have our cleric level plus our wisdom bonus number of spells, which is gonna be 10. We don't have to pick all 10, but do you have some we must have these as we pick up our spells for our cleric?
I tend to when I'm building my spell list, I tend to this is maybe where I'm the least optimized player. I tend to always lean into flavor over abilities. I think you definitely so for does a sapphire dragon have dark vision?
I don't believe so, but let's check because this is my first gem dragonborn. Hmm? Up we go. Game rules. Gonna recheck. Hmm. There's a faster way to do this, but I'm not
That's
doing
fine.
it that way.
We're showing people how the stuff works.
This is not the correct way. Side note.
Yeah,
Um, to
I
do
think it's right
this.
there on the
It's
sheet
just
actually.
you are probably right. Hmm?
Oh, it
Mm,
might just be under the Dragonborn listed. But yeah, if you go to features and traits
I'm
on your character sheet,
staring right past it, aren't I? Hmm?
my problem is I'm looking at the stream and not the live feed where it's there. So if you go to class features,
Let's see.
oh yeah, right, racial feed, sorry, yeah. I don't see dark
No
vision
dark
there.
vision for us.
Cool. So then I think we might want to give ourselves a spell that's light or something so we can see in the dark if we need to.
I love it.
Because I think our cleric might be scared of the dark.
Oh, this is why we know you should fear it.
Yep.
Mhm. Bam. All right, so that's one of our cantrips. Oh,
Yeah.
hold on. We have some names coming in.
Wait.
Fellorn Grim says Michael Bolton. Baxum says Killian.
I like
Key
Michael
Squared
Bolton.
says
That's hilarious.
it's pretty good. Thunder Catherine Hoa. Ranak X says Electric.
Oh my
Y'all, you're
gosh.
so good. Cool
Thunder
Drake says
McThunderquakes.
Timothy Understruck, Shatterhail, Akra, name them Squall. Getting all Final Fantasy with it. I don't know. These are all very, very good, Riley. Is there a winner?
I gotta go with Thunder McThunderface.
Thunder McThunderface, coming to you soon. As like, I really want to know, like, were we born with that name and just felt like we had to become a Tempest Cleric?
I think that our name is draconic and can't be pronounced in the common tongue, and so people just started calling us Thunder McThunderface.
We went with it.
Yeah.
I
And the
love
weird
it.
thing is our draconic name actually kind of sounds like Thunder McThunderface, so it's like actually a weird coincidence.
Sapphires are blue, right?
Yes.
Okay, just checking. Mhm.
Ooh, pretty. I love the gem
Yeah,
dragons. That's a cool little thing.
they're so pretty. All right,
Also,
back to
the gem dragon feat that comes with Fizbans is kind of a version of Wrath of the Storm, but it's force damage. So that's a fun little feat to add to your character. And if not for this one, but
mhm.
I
All
added it to my
right,
sorcerer, and it's really really effective.
very nice. Okay, hit me with some big spells. What are we gonna use to
All right, let's get back to
augment
our list here.
Storm?
All right. So yeah, I think light. I think obviously we got that on there. Give me that list. I mean, obviously you got to get that cure wounds in there because you are a cleric. You're gonna have to use it. Um, look, I'm never gonna not put Toll the Dead on all of my spell casting classes. It's just if Toll the Dead is available, I'm gonna use it and I'm gonna say it like Jester. Every time that I have it available, it's gonna get there. So real fun one. You definitely want to have spiritual weapon in there.
That's I don't know what I started typing and I lost it. Um, known spells.
Someone made a good point that thaumaturgy is a good one to give. Actually, I might even take thaumaturgy instead of light because you can create lights with thaumaturgy. So that might be a better one to have instead of it.
All right, I
So, I mean,
like that.
we're speeding through today, so we don't have to like go too deep into that. But I
All
tend to
right, so
spend a long time on my spells. So I probably should have had some ready to go before we got
no,
into the day.
I'm
I'm
so, and
sorry.
I meant to get to that way earlier. I was just having too much fun.
No,
Um,
it's fine. You know, I'm actually here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna load up the Thunder. I've made two different Tempest clerics in the last couple of years, and they're very different from each other, which is very fun. Because one I mentioned the Umberly cleric, who's the Wrath monster character, and the other one is follower of Thassa and Theros, who is much more like yay adventure, the open ocean calls to me kind of characters. So they can be very different. So I'm gonna load up one of those characters and tell you some of the spells that I picked for them that I was very excited about.
Thank you.
That
I'm
makes it
gonna
a little
remove light
faster.
because we're swapping it out for thaumaturgy, which I think is a good call.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we go up to level 4 at this level, right? Or is it level 3?
We have 4 first level slots, 3 second level, and 3 third.
Cool. So I definitely took uh yeah, spiritual weapon. Thunder Wave was a big one. Oh, I think Thunder Wave is one you might actually get as the
Yeah, I think we're
yeah, you get that
mm,
with that's one of your built-in ones. Let's see here. Here we go. Let me go to my known spells. I can tell which ones are which. So first, second, third. All right. Oh man, this is fun. We have yeah, spiritual weapon. I did see all the ones that I use are ones that are like already given. I actually use the ones that they give you way more than the ones I built for myself. But I've got
which I think
um
is a sign of, like, that they've chosen wisely your major things that come with being a Tempest Cleric, so everything else kind of just lets you add more things to your arsenal if you want them or branch out in a different direction. But,
and part of why I like clerics so much as a casting class is because you can change your spells out every day. So you can be a lot more versatile. Like you can go into things knowing that you're going to have an issue with it. And you might wake up that morning and go, today's a good day to have protection from evil and good ready to go at any given time. So, you know, you
yeah.
have a lot of spells available. I think that if you are going to be right in the middle of the fray, I think having Bane and Bless are both two solid spells to have because you can help out your party in the middle of stuff too. So that's I
Mm.
think Bane can really change the face of a battle.
So Bane, for folks who haven't used it, is a way to make the people that you can see make charisma saving throws. And if they fail, it's going to hurt them in what they try to do, which is just a nice little, just make it a little tougher on
Yeah,
your opponents, which is always fun. So I'm going to add bless on there.
yeah.
Mm.
Bless is
I love the
essentially the
idea of being
opposite of Bane.
storm blessed. What?
Yeah. I was saying people aren't familiar with bless. Bless is almost the opposite of bane, where instead of taking away from people, you give them each ability to add 4 points to their thing. I like command as a Tempest Cleric spell because there's kind of that again, like that fury of the storm behind your words is kind of cool.
Mhm. Mhm.
See here, and then I have hold person. I love to picture what the flavor of my spell casting is. So I feel like with hold person, it could almost be like you send a static electricity charge out that like freezes their joints up, and that's why they can't move because you're using hold like and it's like holding them in place. Like a little force field around them is really fun. That's a
I
big one that
love
I'm a big
that.
fan of.
It is
Yeah.
again fairly Storm of the X-Men, who is now what I'm imagining. Not for a particular bar fight picking Dragonborn, but mm,
Yeah, Dispel Magic is very good if you're going up against some casters. You wanna have that ready to go.
mm,
Spirit Guardians can be a
right.
good little defensive thing.
Those are fun. What would you have them look like for this character? Oops, I'm
Who
done
do we
again.
think their god is?
Oh, that's probably an important choice. Mm, I can't spell.
'Cause I know what I
Uh,
did for an Umberlee character, but maybe let's see what else we got. What were some of the other gods that were listed? Let me go back to that list of some Tempest Cleric gods.
I
Because
I
like
think it would be
Thor. Go ahead.
yeah, Thor
Sorry.
would be a very fun one in terms of they like get to know a town by picking a fight. Goes pretty nicely with our Thor cleric. And of course there are lots of visions of Thor, but whichever one sounds fun to you in the moment. I like that idea. That's sort of a spreading fear, not in a like because I want you all to be subservient to it, but spreading fear in a like, look, power is power and you got to be aware of it and you got to respect it. That is the healthy way to live your life. Like, I like that side of the sort of, like genuinely believing that picking getting into a nice brawl in a tavern is a great way to get to know a town, because it's all in good fun and we're sort of a little bit jolly with it, less of the like cruel and we will make you all fear us kind of side of it. I like it. So what should our
Yeah.
spiritual guardians look like?
Spiritual Guardians, I think, are going to look like I always like so when I did my Umberlee one, it was a tentacle that would come out of like the darkness and like slam people around. But I think for this Thor one, you know what? If we're leaning into this bar fight being the way to get to know each other thing, I think it's a giant like flagon that just smacks people around. Like it's like someone's like hitting someone with the metal of the cup. That's what I think it looks like.
I love that so much. And like they're trying to move through the field and they're just running into cups everywhere. Like I love that very much.
Yes.
Yeah. Uh all right, with our very few remaining moments, I know we're not done picking spells, but we have a nice selection to start with. We've
Yeah, it's a
got
good cross section of kind of spells you can pick out for a cleric, and then you can go through and decide like why does my character like this spell and why is this what they would pull for. But I just think that the move the spells is to always picture how it looks when they cast it, picture like what they're doing with it, and then that informs what you choose to make for the character, in my opinion.
yeah. You can fill it. We get two more cantrips and two more prepared spells, but of course, those prepared spells we can change every day, as Riley mentioned. So we have some options, and we're gonna do the nonsense parts that are really fun right now. We're gonna pick out a frame and a backdrop and a theme to go with this. Um, so I would vote frame wise. We did just get because we are going Fizbans with this. We have animated lightning breath. What does that look like?
I think
I
that or
know,
regular lightning have to be the way to go.
yeah, we like thunder
Oh
and
god,
lightning.
very very
Let's go
frightening.
regular. It's gorgeous. I love it. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, I feel like the
Um,
animated ones are cool for, like, the moment you select them, but I feel like after a while when you're playing, you're like, I get it. It's like waiting for a loading screen after a while, you're like, okay, I get it, you have lightning."
it is fun though.
Yeah.
Let's see. Backdrop. I do see the classic cleric backdrop is always good, but do we have anything maybe?
Yeah, there's one that I really like. Let me see if I can find it. Um,
Yeah, if you already
there's
know,
like a
let me
kind of
know.
there's one, let me see which one it is. There's like a ghost shippy one that I really like. It
Perfect.
is it's under the Tasha's ones. It's like the second to
Mhm.
last Tasha's one. It's like a ship with like a skeleton dinosaur attacking it.
Let's see. Yes,
You
we've
can kind
got
of
some
see it there.
sales going on. I gotta figure out. Let's see. I'm gonna go chaotic and try to zoom out to get. Yeah,
Yeah, I wish the ship was over a little bit so I could see it better, but I do love it.
it's so pretty. Okay, amazing choice. I love it. The theme seems the colors seem fine to me. I like that stark red for our storm based character. I feel like we might be ready to go. Any final thoughts on our Tempest Cleric?
I think this is it. I think Thunderface is ready to go kick some butt, take some names, and chew some bubble gum, but they're all out of bubble gum. So
Thank you so much for hanging out with us today and talking me through building my first Tempest Cleric, who I'm now very excited to maybe pull out in a game at some point. Where can people find you on the internet for more of your wit and wisdom and storms?
hey, tomorrow night, actually, I'm in an improv group called Ripley Improv, and tomorrow night we have the mid-season finale of our improvised hospital drama that we're on called Heartbeats, and we're actually doing it as a fundraiser for a member of the LA improv scene who is dealing with some health issues right now. Has a GoFundMe for his health campaign, Corey Wazinski, and so you can check out Ripley Improv on Twitter and check out their Instagram. They have more information on Corey's fundraiser and how you can contribute. But it's also just a really fun improvised medical drama comedy show that we do every Friday. But we're in our second season, and so we just did an 8 episode run of our first half of the second season. We're gonna have a little mid season finale now, and then we're gonna come back in the new year with the next half of the season. So check that out. And otherwise, you can find me on Twitter at Riley J Silverman, Instagram at Riley Silverman.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me today. This was so much fun. Please drop your favorite spells to fill out our list. We need two more cantrips and two more prepared, just because it's fun for our Tempest Cleric. And we will see you next time on D&D Beyond.
It's D&D.